Welcome to episode 1 of the Ashley Lay Real Estate Small Business Series. This series is here to provide value to local small business owners from local small business owners. Today's guests are Drew Brandon from Home Team Inspections in Greensboro, North Carolina, and David Nishin from Residential Mortgage Services. Today we'll cover the hot topic of team and company culture and how to create positive outcomes from a great culture. If you like what you hear, hit the like button and tap the bell to be notified of our next episode.
Hi guys, this is Ashley Lay again with Ashley Lay Real Estate, and we're so glad you're joining us today. We're doing something different. We're starting a new small business podcast series, and today I'm excited to have our guest with us, Drew Brandon with the Home Team, who runs his own small business, and then David Nishin, who runs a team with Residential Mortgage Services. And I've been working with both of these guys for several years. Just love their energy, love what they bring to the table. I just love working with them because their culture and their systems really mirror what we do in our group. We can always expect the same level of service. We can always expect just professionalism from both of their teams when we're working together. So today on that, I want to talk a little bit about culture and how do you get great culture? How do you get consistency in business? How do you build a business that other people want to be in business with, right? Culture is a hot term in business today, but it does have its place. For this first episode, let's dive in and let's talk about how you build it and the desired outcomes of a great working culture. So talk to me, fellas. Let me preface this by saying my first few years with the team back in 2014, 2015, I didn't do so well with this. And I had people walk away. And often, a lot of people join us and then walk away. And what I figured out is that I had to work very hard and purposefully to build a business that people never want to leave. That's our goal. And so that people are excited to come to work every day and they love where they're at. And that the people, not just our agents, but then our agents and our employees, but then also our clients want to be in business with us because it's so great. Tell me what you guys have done to build that successful culture in both of your teams, because you guys definitely have it.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing for me was, interviewing it and making sure that we have that vision, right? So a lot of what a business owner does is helping set the vision for the company. And that not only comes from, revenue markers and what the employees do and, what kind of services you're going to provide, but it also envisions what workplace culture looks like. And I'm very similar to you, Ashley. I didn't have a ton of turnover, but I tolerated poor culture in the beginning. So people weren't living up to my standards, and I wasn't a good enough leader to really push people to where I needed them to go. So one of the things that I do now is everything we do starts with culture, right? We interview the culture, we train the culture, we set the expectations that are going to reflect what I want out of the culture. And then, as you know, when you get a small handful of people that are buying into it and fully buying into it, it becomes contagious. And, we've gotten to the point to where, I know you want to talk a little bit about interviewing and how do you get that team and how do you sell that culture? I don't have to sell it anymore. I set the expectation, but if somebody I interview, they have to go ride with one of our inspectors. And if one of my inspectors goes, hey, this is not a good culture fit, we don't hire them.
Yeah. How about you, David?
The first thing I learned a long time ago when I set up my own office was I used to unilaterally make decisions on who I was going to hire. And as the team grew, I realized that having the team have input into the decision made it a lot better. The last person we just hired, oddly enough, this is how I hire most of my people. We did a loan for them, and they had a finance background. They had the acumen. They weren't happy in their job. We had done a loan over the 4 to 5 week process of getting them approved. We got to know them. And I talked to my team about it, and they're all like, wow, what a great personality. She got us her docs really quickly. She understood the importance of detail. So when we brought up the topic, everybody was already in agreement that personality-wise, it would be a good fit. And I think that's really important, because if you have one weak link in the fence, the whole team is going to suffer. And we've had that in the past, where we've had people who do the job, but their personalities just weren't a good match. They didn't want to come in on a weekend if need be, and they felt that the rest of the team, felt that they let them down. In our business, we don't have any wiggle room for not doing our job in a timely manner. We have to make closing dates. So I think having my staff have huge input into who we hire, and I think the next step is training. If people don't know how to do their job, you really can't hold them accountable. And so we spend a lot of time training and a lot of time backing them up, so they always have safety nets, so they really can't screw anything up. And that's part of the process of learning, is the team is always there as their safety net. To do what we do is very difficult because, as I stated before, there's no margin for error. So I think training is a big issue. But I think the biggest thing, too, is over time, you tend to lose people. And I think, Ashley, in your business, compensation is important. When one person on the team makes 5 times as much money as another person on the team tends to know what everyone makes. So the way we set up our compensation structures, everyone gets a piece of the overall pie, and total transparency in that. And everybody accepts their compensation based on their role. And I've never had a problem with that, because we're constantly giving people the opportunity to earn more money by closing more loans. And the way we close more loans is build better relationships. And they're excited and they don't mind working. We're going to get paid for it.
Nice. We have just been going through a process with the team we have right now, because we really feel strongly about the 16 people we have and having the right people on the bus. And we've kind of refocused and retooled our mission and vision statement. But our mission now is building lasting relationships. And that's so important within the team and then within our clientele. And it really, like you guys said, it starts in that interview process. We offer a class through Keller Williams called Career Visioning. And it teaches us, we send out a personality profile, and we learn about that potential team member right from the get-go with what's called the Keller Personality Assessment, the KPA, and then a DISC profile. And it tells us, it actually tells us on the KPA what roles on our team that they would be successful in. And then we do what's called validating, have a validation meeting with them for the first time. And then we have 3 other meetings. And in those meetings, we have basically hear their life story. We hear all about their accomplishments throughout their life, what their struggles have been. And we work very hard to ensure, like we said, that culture fit is there, that they like us, that we like them. And and then at the very end, that 4th interview is with the team, just like David said. And our team has the final say so. If one of them comes to me and says, I'm not sure about this person, that's a red flag, because that's something that they're picking up on. And I will say there was a person, and I'm not even going to say male or female, within the last couple of years that I hired, that I had 2 team members after that meeting, and this is where I've learned this, come to me and say, I'm not sure this person's a good fit. And I hired them anyway. And it was very quick that the entire team was coming to me with issues with this person. And I learned very quickly that sometimes, even though I've been through 3 interviews with this person, maybe they pick up on something that I'm missing, right? Because I was looking at that person going, wow, they're really a great salesperson. They've been a great salesperson in their past. They've got the grit to go get it. They're all these things, but there was a lot of, what's the right word? They thought very well of themselves, let's put it that way, that the team was picking up on. And they said, that's like a cancer. That's not a good culture fit when someone, comes in with the attitude right from the beginning that they're better than everybody else.
And that to kind of piggyback on that, like the the team aspect of that is so huge, and the fact that we're entrepreneurs, right? And entrepreneurs, one, we always see the optimism. So we always see like the best out of everybody, but that's not always what's going to happen. And the second one that I've learned is people put on their A+ game when they talk to me, but they let their guard down when they talk to your team.
You're right.
Right. So like we've had issues of, people handling themselves unprofessionally on the job site, making inappropriate comments, stuff like that. They would never have done that in front of me. But they do it in front of your team and they're like, I'm just one of the guys. Now, like for us in a male dominated industry with home inspections, they're like, I'm just one of the guys. So I'm going to talk like one of the guys. It's like, no, because that's not who we are. And that's not what we're going to deal with.
I think for us, what's important too is the culture of family first. And it's not just your personal family, the work family becomes a family unit. And I think in our business, burnout can be pretty prevalent in the industry because of what we do and the pressure. So I think what we've instituted too is we have redundancies and backups. So everybody needs time off. So if so-and-so takes time off, who's doing their job? And I think that cross-training and that redundancy, whenever we hire somebody, the first thing we think of is, if you need to take time off, which everyone does, how are we going to accommodate that time off? So you don't feel like you're either A, letting your family down by taking time off, or B, that you can't enjoy your time off and that it becomes a resentful time off period because you feel like you had to check emails every day. So over the last 5 years, we've really done a great job. And to the extent that someone can disconnect and enjoy their vacation time, I think that's real important because burnout is something that every business, going to experience. And if you don't let your staff have balance in their life and quality in their life, it doesn't matter how much money they make. It's going to get to the point where they want to be able to have a good quality of life. And in our job, we're 100% commission. And, when you're 100% commission, that balance can be hard because you're constantly wondering where that next deal is coming from. And what could I have done this weekend maybe to accommodate more business, but at the same time, spending time with family and doing things that you personally enjoy. So that's definitely been something that's helped our culture is these people knowing that they can take time off. Their hours aren't strictly 9 to 5. If they need to take a morning off, they take it off and they make it up later. As long as our loans are hitting their milestones, we don't punch a clock.
Yeah, I think the word you said there that jumped out at me is so important in creating your culture is the word family. The actual mission statement from Gary Keller is God, family, business. That's it. That we're putting those things first. And we treat our team members now like family. Everybody is family. And, for example, when Heidi had a baby this March, beautiful little Jamie, who we all adore now, she didn't miss a beat. And she had the whole team to pick up behind her and to carry the load for her for 8 weeks while she was able to be with Jamie. And I know that she was actively talking to her people after 3 weeks because that's Heidi. But she was able to stay home with him, and the team was happy to take care of everything for her and to pick up behind her. And just like you said, when we have people that, hey, I need a weekend off, or we've got where our team takes turns doing weekends on call. And if somebody is out of town and has something come up, usually the on-call agent goes, oh yeah, I'm happy to go show that house for you if you need me to. It's having, when we finally got to the point that we had that and that everybody treats each other like family, it made the biggest difference. And you have to do things outside of work too. You have to build that, you have to get to know each other. Like if you don't know the people, if you're running a business and you don't know your employees and your agents' children's names and their husbands' names and their pets' names, something's missing because you have to be that close to have the kind of culture, I think, that, like you said, people never want to leave.
And it's, as a small business owner, when, your back's on the line and the money's on the line, it's kind of hard. It's hard to think this way sometimes, but, culture can be expensive.
Yeah.
Right. Like to meet with people outside. Like some of the culture that we have is if we're out to eat somewhere as a team, or if it's just a couple guys afterward, like I'm always picking up a tab, right? Like it's, it's kind of one of those planned things that, doesn't have direct return. And I think we get so far into every dollar we spend needs to have a purpose and needs to have a return. And, it takes some sitting down and going like, look, me spending $300 on a lunch that's not going to do much, but it's going to make everybody smile is a huge, huge thing.
I think a lot of small business owners miss the boat when it comes to investing in their own business, especially when it comes to investing in their own people. The old acronym, takes money to make money. So we've learned a long time ago as well is that I think, Ashley, I've known you for well over 10 years, and I don't think you've ever asked us to participate in a function or contribute to a cause, and we've said no. We just realized that that's important in our culture with you to support you. And it's never a matter of how much it is. Most of the time, we don't even ask. We just say, send us our share of the invoice. But that gets back to investing in the relationships. And we realize how important that is, but not just my relationships. A lot of the loans that we bring in now are my team is empowered to go out and tell everybody what they do and that they're working on the best mortgage team in the state. And my team, the team gets, the more my team is bringing in loans, so that the onus on origination is not all on me. And that's huge, because the toughest part of our business is originating the loan and building the relationships. But now I have a whole team of people that are empowered out there. One, because the more loans they bring in, they make more money, not just me. And two, they're proud of the culture we built, and they're proud to tell their friends what they do. They're not trying to hide the fact. They're like, look, we'll take great care of you. And if you go use someone else as your lender, you probably won't have as good an experience. And that makes me feel good when I hear them on the phone talking about what a great company we have.
We have a lot of similarities with that going on. Like, our Amy Everhart, that's one of our great listing specialists now. Andrew did a deal with her, and they just both had such a positive experience with each other that he came back to me and said, Mom, you've got to hire her. She's amazing. And we started talking with her, and she was like, yeah, I really like what I'm seeing with your company. This is great. And that's how we brought her on. And we've got a new agent now, another Ashley. We have 3 Ashleys now on my team. But we hired Ashley Widener recently. And, I got the sweetest, not to call her out, but I got the sweetest text from her last week, just in the middle of the week for no reason, telling me how much she loved being on our team and appreciated our team. I've had, so we've got a new fella, Jason, who I adore, who's one of our, he's in inside sales and setting appointments for us. And he was just calling and reaching out and talking to our database this week, telling him about Pi Day that's coming up. And he came in after he was doing that and basically told me, he was like, wow, your people love you. He said, everybody we're talking to is just raving about their experience with Ashley Lay Real Estate. He said, I haven't had a bad phone call. And, had he done that even 3 or 4 years ago, we were not holding the standard was not that high. And now the things that we've put in place to ensure that our agents and the people that we're in business with are having that top-notch gold star experience are so important. And I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Can you guys think of any things that you've done? And maybe I'll share some of my pitfalls. But I made a lot of mistakes in getting to where we are today. Anything you guys want to share?
I mean, who hasn't made mistakes, right?
I think the biggest mistakes that you're referring to is typically a hire. And you have someone who's really, really intelligent and good at the job. But like I said before, they just rub people the wrong way. They're not team players. If we would have a cake brought in for someone's birthday, they're like, that's okay. I don't eat cake. And they wouldn't come in the conference room. And it's just, it's just bad hires would definitely be and in our business too, you have to be licensed. The licensing process is very difficult. So the risk we have to take. If you look for someone who's already licensed, you tend to have more baggage. If you're willing to invest in someone and give them 90 to 120 days and let them study in your office, so we might spend $1,000 getting the right person ready to pass their test. And once they pass their test, it's such a sense of accomplishment that starts the relationship with us, that, wow, they supported me, paid for my education, and got me this career because I couldn't have done it without a license. And they supported me for 4 months while I got my license. So that's right off the bat, we're showing our care for their well-being. And I think that's really important, especially when you talk about having to get a license that's pretty difficult to get.
Drew, you talked about something early on about our leadership lids and how we've got to raise them and we've got to grow and become the leaders that we need to be to support a team like all of us have. And I think a big mistake that I made early on was, I was more about the numbers and how could we grow it quickly and how could we get to X here, and looking at it from what kind of system do I need? How do I need, I wasn't looking at as much the people and investing in the people, and didn't, back to joining. So I was with another real estate company from 2006 until 2014. And in 2014, I joined Keller Williams, and the growth that I have experienced since that time has been amazing. And, Gary Keller is always pushing us to raise our leadership lid, and what can we be doing every day to do that? And so I'm constantly now reading and listening to Audible. And one of my favorite books was Halftime by Bob Buford. And he really talked about when you hit a certain point in your life, then it's more about what are you doing for others? It's much like the golden rule. But I think that the key turning point in my business was when I started getting up every day and working to ensure that all those other people on my team could build a life by design, to have the life that they want, to have the opportunity to grow into who is their best person, who is their best me for themselves. When I became focused on that's when our team started experiencing explosive growth. And I think that was my biggest mistake early on. And my thing that I would caution other entrepreneurs is that you've really got to be all about your people. It can't be about anything else to have the success.
And one of the things with that is you can't want for your people.
Right.
And I think that was probably one of my biggest lessons was, because as entrepreneurs and as business owners, like, we have to think about the numbers and we have to think about the systems that are needed to get there. And we've got to think about the growth plan. There has to be a why behind it. When my team hears we're going to do X amount of inspections this year, and this is my goal for next year. And, I too am a big fan of Gary Keller, and, listen to his set the goal high. And if you come in at 80%, then, that's kind of what to expect. So, I always set the goal super high, and like my guys are sitting there going, I just want to do my work and go home. Right. Like, why are you making me do more things? And, so I've had to get better about explaining hey, when we go to this number means that we have more available cash to spend on X, and we have more things to get, the more team members that we have, the more efficient we are, the more inspections they can do, the more money they can make. I mean, I've got guys that are making way more money with me than they could individually, and having a big team can facilitate that. But the other part of it is like, you look at some people and, I've had one guy that left us a couple of years ago and one guy that's with us now that have the same mentality, which is, I want to be the best daggone home inspector I can be, but I want to show up and do the job. I want to clock out when the job is done, whether that's at 4, 5, 6, or 7. And I want to go home, enjoy my kids, enjoy my family, and not have to worry about anything. When I always look at like, well, you should be always pushing for, growth in terms of, how about we get you to lead a team, or let's get you to lead a division. And I think I pushed a really good one away because I was wanting things for him and he didn't want it. And I was pushing him in the wrong direction, where I've got a guy now that has that same mentality, and it's great. If that's your goal, I'm putting my full effort behind you on hitting that, even if it's not my goal for you. Right.
And that's where it's so important. Like, we have a weekly one-on-one I do with all of my sales team members. I do with the listing side, and Kevin handles the buy side. And you have to understand, that's why we have that annual retreat, or advance as we called it this year, where you understand their goals and their goals, and you've internalized their goals so that you're helping them get there. Because for one agent, when I used to say, I want every agent to hit 36 transactions a year, they don't necessarily want 36 transactions. Everybody's at a different place in their life. Some people are on an upwards trajectory. They're young. They want to do as much as they can for their families. Some people are my age or older, and they want to start slowing down. And everybody has a different comfort spot. And back to, you got to understand where they're at in their path when you're hiring them, and make sure they're a fit. And then you've got to understand that every week. And because if I'm pushing that agent that wants to do 24 transactions and they're very comfortable there, and I'm pushing them to hit 36, that's going to push them out the door.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, the biggest thing with my culture was I have to trust that my team's going to do their job. In the beginning, as you grow your team, you micromanage and you follow up behind them. And that doesn't build trust, because they're like, I thought you told me to do that. And I called the attorney and they said you already called them and took care of it. So over time, you have to really let go and don't micromanage. If you delegate, you have to trust. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, because when you start out, you think nobody's going to do it the way I do it. Nobody's going to do it I want it done. But you have to go back and think about it. If you hire the right person and you train them right, they will. And sometimes I walk around this office and it's fun, because I'll hear them on the phone and they sound just like me. They're like little parrots.
You're creating all your little mini-me's.
Yeah, it makes me smile, because they're so good at what they do right now, as far as understanding. And it also lets me understand that they do watch and observe, and every little thing I do, they scrutinize. And if it works for me, they're going to mimic it. And if it doesn't work for them, for example, they don't have the personality or the experience that I do to pull it off, then they come to me and say, hey, you know this person better than I do. If I try to tell them this, I think they're going to scream at me. So I'll get on the phone and call them and say, hey, we're not going to close because I asked you for this 3 days ago. You haven't got it for me. Sam's scared of you, so I'm calling you now to tell you this, that if you want to close, I need it in the next hour. And they're like, no problem, David, I'll take care of it. Sam, I'm sorry, I don't mean to scare you. Yeah. So you have to learn when to pull them in and when to let them go. And that's definitely a tightrope act some days.
And when to let them make mistakes. That's one of the big things. I mean, David and I are in the same boat, that we depend on realtors for business, right? Those relationships, we work so hard to get them. And Ashley, I know you know this, that one mistake sometimes sends a realtor in the opposite direction, right? And even if it's not a big mistake, it's just we made their life more difficult for some reason, and you go the other way. So, I've got the experience to see that, but now I have to sit back and look at my team and go, if y'all flop and it costs me a relationship, I need you to feel that pain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel that pain, but I need you to feel that pain too. And that's part of building that cohesive unit and it's so hard on me, at least, to sit there and go, like, I'm just watching money walk out the door, and
it's funny you say that.
Gotta let it happen.
It is. It's funny you say that. I remember the first time. So I met Drew, David at a Bold back. Gosh, my first Bold, I think, maybe in 2014.
2015. Yeah.
15. Okay. So maybe my second Bold, but first or second, can't remember. And Bold, for you guys listening, is a sales class we do at Keller Williams, and it really helps grow our business when you attend that. But the first time we gave Drew's group an opportunity to work with us, I don't remember, and it may not have been the first time. It may have been, this was just, I think it was a newer transaction coordinator that I had. It was her first experience with this group. And he had a newer inspector that came out and did it. And whatever agent we had, they were not happy. I don't remember, Drew. But then, you know, that, just like he said, that put a taste in that transaction coordinators, you know, just that, oh, no, my agent wasn't happy, so I can't use them. And I remember talking with them and saying, hey, I don't see the home team on here. And they said, oh, they sent out somebody we weren't happy with. And I don't remember how we handled that, Drew. I don't remember if I probably did it professionally and called you and told you what had happened, because I don't
think you did.
No, I think I was much newer in my running a team. How do you work with your vendors? How do you, all that to say, eventually, because I've watched your growth and very much respected what you did. And as we, got to a point when one inspector couldn't handle everything, I said, please go back and talk to Drew's group. I really think they're doing a good thing here. And every experience since then has been perfect. It's been great. But now I also understand that it's super important with your partners. If you're having a problem, go talk to them. And like Drew said, I know it's, you're right. Sometimes as agents, we do one thing wrong and that person's never going to work with our team again, potentially. But I also, we've got to where now at the end of the transaction, we're going to the clients and we're asking them, what did you like? What didn't you like? What could we have done better? So that we're always upping our game. And I also expect that, and I hope you guys are doing that. I'm sure you are. But come back to us as realtors. If there's something that we could improve, let us know. And for all you entrepreneurs out there, you're not, I'm sure you're like us three. We're kind of the symbiotic relationship. We all need each other. And that, let people know, give them an opportunity, give them a little bit of grace. I've been in this business long enough, back to KW, win-win or no deal. So first thing on our wall with our vision. And I did not come from an environment where it was win-win at no deal or no deal. I was taught win at all costs in the first company I was with for your client.
How'd that go?
Not good. It is not good. Right, David?
Yeah. I bet the rest of the real estate community would have an opinion on working with you that way.
It's very true. I had a reputation in 2013 that is totally different from my reputation in 2020, and with my entire team. And I'll have to say thank you, David. And we've said it many times, but David is one of the people that convinced me to join KW because he thought so much of them. So I will always gratefully appreciate that. So.
You were limiting your own growth, and I saw your potential before you saw it. And boy, that was a great decision. So, and I'm glad you took us along with you.
No, thank you, guys. Well, let's wrap this up. We've been on for a little while. I've got one last question. It said, looking back on the start of your business and how it's progressed, what's the one culture tip you'd give somebody else thinking about starting a business, or someone who's struggling right now in growing their own business or their team?
For me,
go ahead, David.
Go ahead. So for me, there's two things. First of all, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to be well capitalized. You need to make sure before you start that you have money put away and you can get through a pandemic or a lean time. Too many people start, and I was older when I started my business. I had another career before I relocated to North Carolina. So I was fortunate that the daily bills and the monthly invoices did not stress me out. I had enough money for 2-3 years of bill paying. So my focus was building something that would last. And so number one is make sure you're well funded, make sure you have access to capital if you need it to grow. And number two is always think of the team in its totality and not what's most important to you. If you take care of everyone else around you, you'll be pleasantly surprised by how your needs are taken care of.
Amen. How about you?
Mine is don't compromise values and don't compromise culture. My thing, and I know we we talked about it a little bit. By the way, David, I was the definition of underfunded when I got started.
And I'm sure that was stressful.
It was stressful, but I also learned a lot about myself. Like, I can scrap through pretty much anything, right? So because nothing's going to be as bad as me being underfunded and my wife losing her job a month before we opened, right? It was awful. It was
it's called motivation.
Yeah. It definitely motivated us. But it is so easy, especially in the beginning, when potentially you're a weak leader. You're just trying to get everything down. You don't have any time. You're short on sleep. You're extra stressed out. And you end up making a compromise on a value. This person's not honest, but you want to do business anyway. You hear those thoughts from your teammates about, don't hire this person. And you're like, but I need the person. I need somebody. So I'm going to do it anyway, right? And what ends up happening is that it's going to burn you and stress you out. And, I don't know if any of my previous employees are listening to this, which would be kind of interesting, but I tolerated mediocre, and I tolerated not lack of values, but I tolerated breaking some of my values because I needed that person, or they were super skilled at what they did, or agents really liked that person. And I was scared to have the conversation of, hey, we need to tighten this area up because it's not hitting my core values and the core values of the company, because I was scared to lose them because I needed the person, right? So, now, we're able to have that conversation, and I'm able to be a better leader to help push it along. But some of it is just, like you said, working on your leadership lens, working on, growing in that and having those hard conversations and not compromising with it, realizing that short-term pain can still get you where you want to go long-term. But that short-term pain is real.
Well, we've been told over and over to understand the value of a bad hire, how long you will pay for that. Don't hire out of desperation. So that would be my advice, is just like you said, Drew, is that, always have a bench. And just like David said, oftentimes if we pay attention to the people that we're already in business with, you will see some cream rising to the top, and go out and grab that person. Because I love hiring someone that's brand new to real estate. It's just like David said, when he said, starting them, they appreciate you so much when you help them get there. And then you don't have to break bad habits either after you've hired them, because you're training them the right way. That's huge. So, but you guys, if any of you are listening in the Triad, these are two amazing business partners to be in business with. They run amazing teams. Again, Drew is with the home team, and David Nishin is residential mortgage services, and he is your best lender partner you can imagine. And Drew's team is going to take great care of your clients. So please send them your business, because that's what we're trying to do here, is spotlight our small business partners. And we so appreciate both of you being here today.
Thanks for tuning in to the first small business series from the Ashley Lay Real Estate Podcast. Guest information is available in the show notes below. If you are a local small business owner wanting to talk about this topic further, please get in touch with one of us today.